Hello there, happy whatever. Today is more bad creepypasta. Shadow Wolf can't be with us because he's busy being the caretaker. He's always been the caretaker. The story we're looking at is called Thomas and was suggested by Supersonic Boom 1.
Fuck you.
Thank you, Supersonic Boom 1, for suggesting the story. Tyler sat at his desk, petrified by the teacher's lackluster speech.
I think you got something,
Alright, someone get this guy a dictionary. And allowed his eyes to gaze upon his peers. Julie Burnitz looked as beautiful as ever. She had always been beautiful, but now that she was a junior in high school, it just made her image all the more real, whatever that means.
I don't think, can you call someone beautiful when they're like 14, unless you want to have Chris Hansen around?
After almost getting caught glazing over her breasts,
I hope you won't get caught in that during class.
His eyes darted to Johnny Topples.
That's the best name ever.
Thomas, a creepypasta written by Charles Dickens. The staple for the school joke, he was nicknamed the Toppler for being able to topple mountains with his rippling biceps.
The school sense of humour was awful.
Although nothing really stood out about him other than his stereotypical stupidity.
Didn't you just say his abs could topple mountains? Doesn't that
That seems like pretty impressive. Moving on, Tyler's eyes gazed upon the school recluse. Punctuation is your friend. ... Thomas. Nothing per se was wrong with Thomas, but he was a little odd. He answered question when called on him.
He only ever answered one.
Did great in class, and was even an impressively strong person, despite his small frame. He was nimble and could pack a punch that could make even the mighty Toppler cry on the ground for his mother. The strange thing about Thomas, other than the fact he didn't talk almost at all, was how he looked at you. Expressionless... ... His face was void of any emotion. In fact, the only person I ever saw get anything out of him was the other outsider, Valory. Valory Hudson.
Valerie Hudson.
Is that how she introduces herself? Valerie
spy.
Hudson. Of course, Tyler did... I'm just laughing at this spy. I'm just imagining a spy in a high school situation. It's like someone who's obviously 40 with like a trench coat and glasses. Valerie Hudson. Of course, Tyler didn't think she was an outsider, and neither did he about Thomas. He just believed that they were they kind of people who belonged somewhere else, otherwise known as outsiders. That this environment wasn't designed for people of their distinction.
You haven't actually explained what makes them outsiders. You've just waxed poetic about how great this other guy is. He could lift a mountain over his head and fight Superman.
Although Tyler had always been mature, he had to... His dad... and I'm just reading how the punctuation sets it out. Wasn't exactly a father figure, and his mother was exhausted just standing up after her day. He had to take charge and become the parents they couldn't be. The bell rang!
What was that? Scene missing.
That meant literally nothing. Striking the end of 8th period. And as Thomas and Valerie left in unison, Tyler stopped for a second to rethink his actions, ... but to no avail, for he proceeded with chasing the two to catch up with them. Valerie
Hudson
could remember the first moment she met Thomas. He was sweeping...
She could remember. She wasn't brain dead at acting.
She had a functioning brain.
She didn't have amnesia or anything.
He was sweeping his driveway and looked oh so cute doing so. Valerie
Hudson
was attracted to Thomas, yes, but it was oh so much more. He was a mystery. No one had ever known him, and she wanted to be the first. And when she witnessed him remove his shirt to reveal rippled muscles atop a scrawny, slightly pale figure, ... she couldn't help but blush. Hiding her shame, immediately using her geometry book as a shield, she attempted to progress forward.
Hiding her shame? Was she a boner?
Breaking over her indefined ward of protection, she noticed Thomas hadn't even noticed her. Feeling like an idiot, she said her first words to Thomas. Hi! In a burst of undying anxiety, she relinquished all feelings into a one-syllable word. Feeling startled, Thomas... The punctuation is just not there. Feeling startled, Thomas looked at her with shock and surprise. With the same expressionless face, but this time, ... it had the faintest of expression. His face was completely expressionless, except that one expression he had on it. Curiosity? Maybe. All Valory.
Valerie Hudson.
New spelt wrong as well. She was blushing and quivering, but she had spoken to him, so she would not stop until she was successful with a conversation. Hey, Thomas. I wanted to talk to you for a little bit. Is that okay with you? Thomas, ... for possibly the first time since he was a child, smiled. It was faint, weak, and died after he began to listen to her words. But her nerviousness and overall cute fumbling of words brought a smile in him. Thomas did think she was cute. Not like the sluts who... Wow, this just got dark. Not like the sluts who ploughed his school. And every school in the country nowadays. But more innocent cute. Innocence, ... Thomas was devoid of any of that for a long time now. Not even this cute girl could bring that out, ... For it was long since dead.
He hasn't been attracted to a girl since he was 9.
Thomas Simple nodded. Giving...
Is this a new character, Thomas Simple?
Giving permission for her to proceed with her conversation. Well, Thomas, I know we don't talk much, or at all, but I just want to get to know you, because, well, I really don't have a reason. But Thomas interrupted her fumbling with the most faintest of answers. You could hear Thomas clearly every time he spoke, but it was the same as his facial expression, devoid of any activity.
Wait, so it's faint, but you could hear him clearly.
You don't want to get to know me. Feeling horribly crushed, Valerie
Hudson
was about to leave Thomas to his work when she was stopped. Hey, what's your name? Valerie leapt at the chance.
Valerie Hudson.
He wanted her name, meaning he was interested in her. That was more than what most people got out of Thomas. Most people would have let him continue his work without further persuasion. And that would be okay with them, but not Valerie.
Valerie Hudson.
She was becoming intrigued in him. His story, his life. That's the end of the sentence. So she simply smiled, stated her name. She simply smiled, stated her name with a tilt of her head, and continued walking. Punctuation. Valerie,
Valerie Hudson.
I will always remember you. Thomas always loved to walk with... I know this is a creepypasta, and the guy is a bit creepy, but I don't think that's enough.
Oh, God, this is Twilight, isn't it? Is this like...
It really is.
He hasn't actually written a creepypasta, he's just written some fan fiction. Is Naruto and Harry Potter going to show up and be his best buds?
So we got to beat Megatron. Come on, Spike, we can't do it without you. Thomas always loved to walk with Valerie.
Valerie Hudson.
She was a girl who knew her boundaries and didn't try to overstep them. In an essence, she was probably afraid of Thomas like all the other kids at school were. But I think that may have been why she was attracted to him. That's right, guys. Scare a girl to get in her pants.
You see a cute girl, pull out a knife. That's the Chicago way.
This is the greatest thing anyone's ever written. He was a mystery to her, and she wanted to know every aspect of his being. They had only been friends for a few short months, and yet Thomas knew she wanted more. But with the life Thomas had, he didn't know he could give it to her. Thomas did like Valerie.
Valerie Hudson.
She was the one girl who could get him to express himself. That was invaluable to Thomas. Lots of women liked Thomas, despite
lots of women,
despite his odd behaviour. For he was an attractive person, but he turned down everyone due to the fact that they couldn't get past his mental boundaries. Valerie
Hudson. Am I even saying her name right?
I think it's Hudson, yeah, who cares? Valerie, though, had the urge and that cute fumbling behaviour that Thomas couldn't resist. Maybe that is why Thomas was so easily intrigued by her.
What?
It's supposed to say intrigued, but the person who wrote this is an idiot and doesn't have spell check on their computer. Their walks consisted of little or no talking, but neither party cared. They had their sways and motions to define how they felt about each other.
Well,
Actually,
like, are they bees?
Actually, it technically says they had their sways and motions to define how they felt about each other and what was going on in each of their
They
lives.
communicate by shaking their asses like bees.
After they would part ways, after seemingly awkward goodbyes, Thomas would go inside to greet the one man that would confide him back into his cage of emotionless misery, ... his father. However, this time, around halfway between their walk home, they both heard a sound that probably changed the outcome of their entire lives. A man, ... no, a student, men can't be students,
It's one or the other.
yeah,
I wish to learn handing your man cards and slice off your balls.
calling to them, beckoning them to stop. It was faint but grew louder and more raspberry as he approached them. I don't know, you tell me. The voice was identified as Tyler Bounds, a student in their class. Tyler approached Thomas and Valory.
Very, whatever. Fuck, I can't remember her name. What was it?
We're gonna have
Hanson,
to.
Hitson.
We can't do the Valory thing anymore. Screw it. Do it yourselves, guys. Say Valerie Hudson when you while you're watching.
I'll stop paying attention.
In a desperate attempt.
Desperate.
In a desperate attempt to see how these two worked, Tyler honestly didn't know why he was there or why he even wanted to become friends with them.
Wait, what? What just happened?
I don't know. It may have been to the fact that they were missing a piece of undefying hole that needed to be filled with an astute man like Tyler. Hey there! Tyler shouted, despite being only about 13 feet away from them. Thomas stood there blankly, but Valerie, working as a translator for both of them gladly, yet uncertainly, greeted Tyler. So they were speaking two different languages. Hey Tyler, how's it going? Is there something you need? Huh? No, nothing in particular, to be honest. I just don't know what I'm doing here. Ha! But I wanted to get to know you two. If that's all right, I know most people ease into friendship, and I didn't think that was the case with you
It's not here,
two.
it's backcountry.
So I thought I would barrel in. Thomas may have been able to make this man his friend, except he was a lunatic.
Word.
For he did get an emotional rise out of him. But unlike Valerie, instead of infatuation and possible love, ... Thomas was furious at Tyler. Not that he had done anything to Thomas, but it was this thing that Thomas liked to avoid, people who were happy all the time while the world around was terrible, yet they saw it as something magical. Wow, you know what? I can see why she likes him. What a cool guy.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm this close to slitting my fucking wrists.
Oh, that's great, honey. Let's go to the park. No, the park sucks. Well, it couldn't fool Thomas. He had seen beyond the one-sided mirror of their reality
Beyond Thunderdome.
and saw what the world was really like. ... Suffering after suffering again and again, the cycle would annoying repeat itself, and the only solace Thomas could find was in Valerie ...
I'm so glad to hear about how a junior high student has figured out the entire fucking world.
And he was trying to deprive Thomas of that little time he had with her. Fine. Stern but polite, Thomas' actions were help cloaking his intentions of anger and lust. ... A lust that Thomas could never unshake. I know I'm screwing this up quite a lot, but it's really hard to read because there are so many mistakes in you kind of expect them. You end up pronouncing words wrong. After half an hour of Tyler's pointless banter, Thomas found his way home, looked at Valerie, nodded, slightly glared at Tyler, and continued the long descent to his front door.
Slightly glared at Tyler.
As Thomas entered his house, he could smell the booze emitting from his father, who was passed out on his recliner. Thomas saw the knife he was using to cut his steak on the table. ... It would have been so easy to pull off such a simple manoeuvre as to cutting his father's throat. Thomas's mother wasn't around anymore. His father had gotten into an argument with her, claiming she would kill herself in a passionate argument, to only prove her point. However, the gun's trigger had been pressed, and Thomas's mother was lost, ... and he witnessed it.
Wait.
Back up a second.
Back the fuck. This argument is so bad, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
That traumatic event turned Thomas into the reclusive man he was today. Reclusive 14-year-old man.
Alright, he's a 14-year-old who's worked out the entire world. It's so full of misery and darkness and everything is wrong with it because your mum killed herself over an argument. I think your mum's just stupid.
With the occasional homicidal intention, he would subdue it and sleep, ... But lately Thomas couldn't sleep, and one day he knew he would stop sleeping unless the urge was satisfied with a sacrifice.
Oh, finally we're getting to the meat and potatoes of it.
But Thomas, for the first time, was in love. Was it love? Or merely the illusion of love? There's no question mark at that, so that's the answer. Was it love or merely the illusion of love? Whatever it was, Thomas felt it to be true and real. She was a lifeline, and if the rope were to be cut, Thomas would be left in his own madness. So began the hours of ceiling gazing Thomas did every night, ... Tomorrow, ... would be Thomas's breaking point, and it would be the day, ... that people, new paragraph, would die, new paragraph. Valory woke up today feeling epically pretty. Right, how do you misspell especially that badly? Wow. Today was the day she would tell Thomas how she felt about him, and she knew he would feel the same. Hang on, stop a minute. That's the kind of spelling that your computer, when it says no results found, like no suggestions found unspelled. Fucking hell! I'm stopping the video for a second. Look at that.
That is all. I'm dyslexic and I can spell better than that.
Epically, right? It was that level of undying confidence Valory had obtained with her years as a spy. With the few short months she had known Thomas, yet she was certain she loved him. She gathered her things and opened her door to greet a smiling
14-year-old
Thomas.
romances last a lifetime. ...
which was odd. He was smiling. Good morning, Thomas exclaimed, with a more noticeable than usual excitement.
You're gonna have to talk like... Good morning.
Hey, Thomas, you gonna walk me to school? Coming off a little flirtatious, her confidence was really affecting her attitude and was really shining in her voice. Why, yes, I am actually. Is that all right with you? Thomas was asking Valory quite a few questions. In fact, he was more talkative than when they walked for an hour. Of course!
Of course!
Valory accidentally shouted at Thomas. ... This made him laugh, which was the first time Valory had even heard it. It was a cute laugh that made her blush in an instant, unlike before they first met.
It's good to know that you spent all your time with this guy and it's the first time you've made him laugh.
Thomas took note and just gave it. Yeah, if either of you two, if I hadn't made you laugh within like an hour of hanging out with you, I wouldn't call you again.
Isn't that one of the things like women always say they look for the first thing in a man is someone with a good sense of humour? So this dreary motherfucker here.
That's what you write about being Twilight. It's like, oh, you know what? It's clearly every woman every teenage girl on the planet has had some kind of joint lobotomy. He's going, oh, do you know what'd be great? Somebody who just dribbles everything he says.
Has a face like a spade.
Where the hell was I?
Who cares? Anyway, honestly, anyone really give two shits?
Our awkward walk to school that was filled with emotions, they finally reached their destination, the school. What?
Filled with emotions, roller coaster of emotions, highs and lows, the greatest joys, the lowest tragedies, all of the walks to school.
After parting ways, Thomas saw time fly in front of him. He was excited, probably for the first time since ... well ever. Thomas was going to tell Valory how he felt, and maybe he could become normal. I don't think that's how insanity works.
Yeah, like, oh, I've got the psychological damage from when my mum shot herself after an argument. Oh, if only someone gave me a hug, that cures all problems.
Run away with her and possible not have the urges anymore. ... This is like Twilight. It's abstinence porn. Thomas had a long day ahead of him.
It's cross between Dexter and Twilight.
Jesus Christ. Could you imagine anything worse? Well, maybe a man with 4 arses who constantly pukes diarrhea, but like, still.
Oh, someone's going to write that now. The sensitive serial...
Do not write...
sensitive serial killer form. I can change him. He only kills the bad people. Oh God, it's going to happen. I know it.
After school, all students left except for Thomas, Tyler and Valory, and the entire football team. They had junior tests and had all been out that day. The football team for the game, Tyler taking pictures of his job, and Valory and Thomas had gone into town for the first time together. Hours passed and Thomas, Tyler and Valory were the last to finish. Upon leaving the class and entering the school hub area, they were ambushed, by the football team. What's up, freaks? Yo, come on, we want to show you something. The jocks pushed them along to a small shed, concealed behind the school and quite a bit back into the woods, abandoned, It was perfect.
For what?
Actually, it was perfect.
Oh, that makes it a lot better.
Thomas had broken the quarterback's arm a year before losing the championship for the school. That's when everyone really feared Thomas the day he bent that 6'5" tall man
over him.
So put him in the camel clutch. The 6'5" tall man into an impossible position. He could never use it again. Now they were getting their revenge by roughing Thomas up with their own special methods, lead pipes, bats, and even a few sledgehammers.
Alright, roughing up, sledgehammers. Roughing up, sledgehammers.
Yeah, it's not really roughing up, is it?
It's more like assault and attempted murder.
Let us go, this isn't right, Valory exclaimed. Yeah, I agree with Val. No one cares what you think, faggot! The jocks silenced Tyler immediately and gazed upon Valory with hungry eyes. Oh, God. Right, we may have to skip some of this.
I'm so glad these people thought through. Hey, why don't we, beat the shit out of the people with some lead pipes and chains?
Oh, do you know what's great now, Matt? Now the story's going to get misogynistic. He slapped her with an unimaginable amount of force, exclaiming, "Shut the fuck up, you dumb bitch!" Oh, God. Thomas had been calm until that moment.
Oh, he's going to release his berserker fury.
Oh, that's right. You need the psycho to rescue you, ladies, because you can't help yourselves. Because sexism. Tom had been calm up until that moment. Every urge Thomas had suppressed was revived with more force than ever. Thomas had lost his humanity, By feeling sympathy for someone else, his humanity was gone. Tyler watched as one man parted from the group and held Valory so she couldn't escape while he and Thomas would face uncertain doom. However, as the door closed, Thomas unleashed his demons. Ripping his bindings with little effort at all,
Adamantium rage! His claws come out.
Thomas grabbed his escort's head and bent it into a nearly impossible position. He then sprang...
Wait, there's only so many positions you can bend a head.
So fast, Tyler barely could keep up with him. The foolish jock, still terrified at what he witnessed Thomas do, swung the lead pipe at him. Grabbing the pipe before it could even gain speed, Thomas ripped it from his hands and impaled him in the head with lightning-fast reflexes.
We're making jokes about being fan fiction. I'm pretty sure it is just a self-insert, oh man, I wish I was so badass.
Yeah, this is just somebody who gets bullied at school. One withdrew a large knife from his sports jacket, and the poor fools were just suppling a monster with weapons. He took the knife...
I wish you'd spelled it suckling.
Yeah. And in five brutal swiped decapitated 4 members of the team. That last one took some effort, but his head came off as well. It was like with a knife. Just a large decapitate. I don't think you could effortlessly decapitate 4 people with a knife.
Yeah, but he did it in a single swipe. That's some skill there.
Yeah, and I don't know, an impossible type of knife that doesn't really exist. Finally, it was Thomas, the toppler, and Tyler. But Thomas was still raring to go. He lunged forward as if he was the air itself, but only to be intercepted by his sledgehammer. Thomas appeared to be down, but in a swift move, grabbed the knife that had been knocked out of his hand and ran it through him multiple times. Thomas, was laughing maniacally. Well, was laughing menically. Can someone laugh menically for me, whatever that is?
Bruh, 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 bruh.
There we go, menical. And and he didn't stop even long after the lump of flesh that used to be a linebacker was long dead. ...
Okay, you know, like sticking up for your friends. That's one thing. I think murdering all of them is probably going a bit too far.
The man who had been watching Valory charged in shortly after. This is these jocks' problem, attacking one at a time.
Just like ninjas.
What in the fuck? Thomas threw the sledgehammer carelessly, and with such precision and force it crushed that poor soul's head against the wall like a watermelon.
Alright, let's pretend that you're one of the jocks who's an idiot for some reason. Are you so stupid, like, he's just killed 5 people?
I'm gonna go after him.
I think he's tired now. I'm the one who can do it.
Thomas ... was victorious ... Hey, Thomas, I don't know what voice to do because it doesn't tell you who's speaking. Thanks for
Okay,
that.
it's Yogi Bear. Yogi Bear's there and he's thanking him.
I can't do Yogi Bear's voice. Thomas looked at Tyler. That's why Shadow Wolf should be here. He does the voices. Thomas looked at Tyler for about 15 seconds before an evil smile crept along his face. Thomas looked at Tyler with the same bloodlust that he had moments ago. Sorry, I had to check I wasn't reading the same paragraph. ... He crept towards Tyler with a murderous
Was it like...
intention. Thomas! No! Thomas broke a disgorged pipe, still containing most of the jock's face on it, and began to rip Tyler into shreds of flesh and organs... ... Thomas put his carving tool down and sat there... ... motionless and waited... ... just waited. Valory had heard horrible things while she was out in the cold... ... She crept inside, and when she opened the door... ... she was petrified. Scattered remains, blood-soaked walls, heads, hearts, stomachs, and anything else in the human body coated the room she entered, and in the middle was a blood-soaked Thomas, and he began to speak. Valory. Yeah?
Sup? What's going on?
I love you. Did I keep you safe? Valory was scared, not because Thomas, in fact, ... she oddly loved Thomas more now. Her psyche had fractured just like Thomas's had, and she ran to him and kissed him on the mouth and said, I love you too. Of course you kept me safe. Can you always keep me safe? Of course. Of course. Thomas, for the first time in a long time... ... He slept and slept and slept. Valerie drove them away, and as she was driving looked at Thomas and knew... ... when he awoke... ... he would be hungry for more. Right, there's no stars to choose from, and there are no comments on that video.
Right.
So that's quite an obscure one. First question, Sonic Super Boom 1.
Why do you hate us? Why?
How did you find that? And second of all, that might be the worst one we've done.
But it's because it wasn't a creepypasta. It was some dude's like weird ass, like self-insert revenge fanfic. That was
dog shit. That's one of the worst pieces of crap I've ever read in my life.
That was
I went back when I did the top 5 best and worst, and we hadn't started doing the show yet. And I said sonic.exe was the worst thing I'd ever read.
You have to revert, I look back on those rosy, sunny days of Sonic.exe.
Hell, fucking yeah. I'm longing in the cold at night, trying to ease myself into sleep with just the thought of truth about my death, of Teke. Super Sonic Boom 1, that was ever so special, and thank you very much, but please, for the love of God, send us no more, and if you request any more, we will not read them.
I don't know where to start with just bitching about,
There's nothing that can be said.
For some reason, he had a dark past. His father drank, and his mum died in an argument and shot himself, so he became a super psychopath who could rip people off. Did he kill the guy who was trying to be friends with him for no reason?
What we've discovered is that having a bad life makes you a psycho, and that girls are so male dependent they'll fall in love with a psychopath. That's what we've learned from that story. And no, I'm not discussing it any further, because as far as I'm not discussing what was wrong with it, because it's all self-evident, and the sadistic fuckers that have tuned in to listen to us riff on it, they can talk about it in the comments, because I'm done. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then click here to subscribe. You might also like my new channel. If you have any feedback on this video, or you'd like to have a say on which story we read next, then feel free to use the comment section below. Have a fantastic day.